tell us about the comedy show that people are not going to be seeing. Tell us a bit about it.
The show I was going to do this year on my first national tour was called I Thought It Would Be Nice. And it was a show which was effectively a best of my stuff, but also framed in the narrative of this year's bushfire season and that's its effect on my family. Um, and so it was quite topical, I guess, which is a risky run. Because obviously I don't want to do that show next year. It's too late to be talking about the crisis of the fires when in fact we've now got the crisis of a pandemic. So it's a show that I really enjoyed. It went really well in Brisbane. I had 6 sold out shows there. It had a lot of momentum behind it. I'd sold out 2 of my shows here in Canberra and we put on a 3rd show. It was all ready to rock. So it's I'm thinking now that the show I'll do, I'll try and film it and I'll just put it on my YouTube eventually. I'm very happy with the show. I think it's great. Yeah, it's a good show. I am not one of those comedians that's done hundreds of festivals. Okay, so I come from a background of a small town, Canberra, where basically for the last 3 years I've done solo shows probably 2 or 3 times maximum. Because I haven't gone national because I've had responsibilities at home and I haven't been able to afford it. Because I'm, 46, I'm a mum, I have commitments and I can't just bugger off to Melbourne for a month every year. So, yeah, for me to be able to do this show 6 times, that's the most I've ever done a show. So, and I have to get it, because I don't have that ability to just go to Melbourne every year and do it for a month. For me, I make sure that my show's ready from the first time I do it because I don't have the luxury of breaking it in.
So, what has been the impact of the cancellation of the Melbourne Festival?
Uh, it's been devastating not to be able to do the show that's ready to go. I'm not as badly affected as a lot of comedians who rely on the income from Melbourne to get them through the rest of the year. So I feel for them very much. I'm only at the beginning of my sort of national journey. So my ticket sales, who knew what they would be? I'm just starting to make a splash. I don't know that I would have made a significant amount of money, but certainly it would have been helpful. But what I really wanted to do was keep the momentum. That's the loss that I really feel. Is I felt really excited about doing my first solo in Melbourne this year. It's an important time, and just to not be able to do it is a bit of a shame. It's motivated me this time. It's made me think, well, you have everything at it now. You've got to start really developing online. You've really got to get YouTube going. You've got to start being more yourself online, which is kind of hard. So, yeah, there's been opportunities and losses. I prefer to focus on how I can use my energy now.
Are you set up very well personally, financially? Do you have savings? Do you have other work?
I wouldn't say that we're well off, but I do. I had a career for 20 years before I went full time with comedy, so I'm going to go back to that sort of work if I have to, which is just PR and communications work and writing. Yeah, we're actually not doing great, but we're doing much better than most. You can't, yeah, I sort of have to manage my finances because I've got 2 teenagers and a partner. And I'm an adult. This is my life. I have to manage it. It's a shame. Comedy is just not it's not a very lucrative career unless you're in the top 1%. So I've never seen it as a big earner, to be honest. So I've never really made myself rely solely on comedy to survive because I just don't think it's viable. Even if you're going very well, you have to have a bit more income and diversity, I think. So, yeah, But the biggest loss for me is the potential of this year and the excitement of doing my first solo in Melbourne and going to Perth for the first time. It was great to do Brisbane Comedy Festival for the first time. But hopefully all of that can happen next year, and we can all have a brilliant festival and be so grateful for the fact that we can even do it. Yeah, hopefully we can do it.
Has this also made you realize that perhaps you're more optimistic and that you're more resourceful and resilient than you may have thought before? And that it's a
Maybe,
test,
Jim.
like it's a test?
Maybe. I think that if anything, this period of like shutdown and no live gigs has made me just take the brakes off a bit and just go, well, that's it. You've just got to you've got to build a database online. You've got to start communicating with your audience more regularly. You have to do some videos, and you just have to stop being afraid of, I guess, trolls and even other comedians. My audience is not other comedians, but because that's how we all connect and we're friends and everything, we see each other's content, and I'm very welcoming of other people's content, but I'm aware that I'm not for everyone, and I guess there's that little voice in your head that's like, oh shit, so and so is going to see this and they're going to go, oh, she's so earnest or whatever, and you. It's that kind of stuff that I'm trying to overcome, and I think this period of forced isolation is going to make me just go, well, so what if the cool ones don't like me? They're not my audience anyway.
Blessing in disguise?
Yeah, look, my dad's favourite saying is don't waste a crisis. So yeah, I'm going to use it and try and get better at stuff. And certainly I'm going to write a new show. I mean, I know that that's what I've got to do. So I guess I'm going to get started. That's kind of exciting,